Be honest. How far would you go to keep your family alive in a city that suddenly wants you dead? In the next 40 minutes, we'll follow Jack Dwyer through blocked streets, broken promises, and a rooftop no rescue helicopter ever reaches. If you think you'd make a better choice, keep watching. Every 5 minutes, the film puts a new price on survival. Let's see what you'd pay. Stick around. When we reach the river scene, I'll reveal the decision that turns no escape into something much darker than a survival thriller. A jet carves through night. A father watches his daughter sleep across the aisle while his wife squeezes his hand and says it'll all be fine. Outside, a city waits. Humid, unfamiliar, crowded with smiles that will, by morning, twist into something else. Their passports say United States. Their hotel welcomes foreign guests. Their driver beams for a tip. But by the time the ink dries on their check-in form, the country itself will tilt. Sirens will cut the air. Radios will hiss with a single message. Get the Americans. Because somewhere, in a boardroom very far from the street, a deal was made and then unmade. And now a family, Jack, Annie, and their 2 little girls, are about to learn the difference between a trip and a trap. There will be no rescue beacon, no embassy safe room, no cavalry. There will be a rooftop with nowhere to go, a crowd that decides who lives and who dies, and a river that marks the line between one nation's rage and another's indifference. The title promised it. The city will prove it. They arrive in the dead hours, 50% exhausted, 50% hopeful. Jack Dwyer has taken a job he believes will save his struggling career. Something with a water company, something that sounds like infrastructure and progress. He's selling stability to his family, and he believes it. He needs to believe it. The airport is dense with heat and a sweet sour scent. Jet fuel, jasmine, fried dough. At baggage claim, the first kindness appears. A boisterous, seen-it-all Brit named Hammond. He's one of those travelers who fits anywhere and nowhere. Rumpled linen, easy grin. A joke ready for every silence. He clocks Jack's stress, wins over the kids in 2 sentences, and somehow folds the family into his orbit. Feels like luck. Later, it will feel like providence. The hotel is a western island in a foreign sea. Lobby orchids, mirrored elevators. A clerk smiling with eyes that measure. Annie unpacks the small things that make a room feel safe. Stuffed animals, a hairbrush, a book with a cracked spine. Outside the window, the city never sleeps. Vendors torch walks along the curb. Mopeds swarm like fish. And a billboard blares a politician's smile that will, before long, disappear. Morning is bright and loud. Jack steps into the street and tastes the first thrill of foreign change. But the novelty has an undertow. Signs are indecipherable. Everyone is moving fast. He's here to meet colleagues, to shake hands, to pretend he's in control. A thin rain starts, then dies, then starts again. He buys a paper he can't read. He keeps walking. He doesn't see the man sprinting. He hears something first, a shout, a crack, a second crack. A small knot of bodies surges. Someone shoves him hard, and then he sees the line of riot police form and the first bottle arc overhead. By the time he runs back toward the hotel, a rumor has turned into a fact. The Prime Minister is dead. The streets clog with panic. Something invisible rips, and the city becomes a chessboard, blocks that you can cross, blocks that you can't. In the hotel lobby, the mood caves in. Guests press toward reception. Phones glued to ears that hear nothing but static. Stay inside. Someone yells. Stay inside. Jack takes the stairs 2 at a time. He finds his wife gathering the girls, already reading his face. He doesn't say it aloud because the girls are listening, but the words form anyway. We might be hunted. The hotel manager herds foreign guests upward. Safer, he says. Helicopter, maybe. The stairwell is a funnel of breath and fear. Jack carries one daughter. Annie carries the other. Doors slam below them. Somewhere on a lower floor, glass shatters like ice dumped out on tile. The roof is a concrete island ringed by a low wall. The sky is bruised. A small group of guests gathers near the helipad marking, as if paint can protect them. Jack peeks over the parapet. The street is an ant farm, lines of movement, sudden eddies, a sense of purpose without mercy. Men in work shirts carry sticks and pipes. A truck rolls past with a poster ripped and flapping. A politician's face torn through the eye. A helicopter appears, too small, too far. It's not coming for them. It's circling. People wave anyway because that's what you do when you have no plan. Then the stairwell door bangs open. The first two men aren't hotel staff. They wear sweat and adrenaline and something like triumph. One has a pistol. The other has a radio. The crowd parts the way crowds do when a new rule arrives. The man with the gun scans faces. He's not looking for locals. Jack doesn't wait. He grabs Annie's arm, grabs the girls, and runs low along the wall. The next door is chained. The next one jammed. He finds a maintenance ladder and shoves the kids up with hands that won't stop shaking. The gunshot cracks the air. Someone screams. Something hits concrete inches from his head. They reach a secondary roof, lower, narrower, the kind of surface not meant to be walked. Across a gap, another building squats, flat-roofed, maybe reachable. The distance is right at the edge of possible. Annie looks at him, and in that look is a decision: you throw the kids. There's no time to argue. No time to soften the ugliness of it with words about trust and teamwork. There is only the geometry of survival. Jack crouches, breathing in the acidic stink of damp tar. He counts down for the older daughter, not because the count matters, but because she has to hear something steady. He throws. She hits, skids, scrapes, lives. The younger girl won't let go. He peels her fingers from his neck and promises he'll jump right after her. Not a lie, exactly, just the best version of truth he can manufacture. He throws again. Annie goes next, teeth bared in a sound that isn't a scream but something older. Jack backs up, sprints, leaps. For a fractured second he sees the alley yawning beneath him. A narrow cut filled with metal and shadow and the kind of death that comes from miscalculation. He hits, rolls, shoulder sparks, breath explodes, but he's across. A door on this building is unlocked. They spill inside. A corridor smells like bleach and old cigarette smoke. They find a room without windows and hold each other in the dark. Outside, the city practices a new vocabulary. Men chanting in time, the percussive cough of tear gas launchers, the insect buzz of radios clipped to belts. And then a phone vibrates. Jack hasn't had service since morning, but the phone lights anyway, and Hammond's voice fills the room. Don't wait. Don't trust the hotel. Don't go to the embassy. They'll be there too. His voice is a map and a warning. I'll find you, he says, and hangs up before questions eat time. They move at street level, not because it's smart, but because there's no other way. Vendors fold their stalls like origami. Children vanish into doorways. Graffiti appears where posters used to be. Jack keeps to the edges, hugging walls, ducking through market alleys where fish heads gleam on blocks of melting ice. An intersection ahead is clogged. At its center, a stopped bus. A cluster of men drags a tourist down the steps by his ankles. Another man, older, sweating through a white shirt, tries to talk, palms open and pleading. The men don't care about his explanation. They care about the shape of his face, the color of his skin, the watch on his wrist, signals of the country they now hate. Jack pulls the family back into shadow. He counts to 10. He wants to be a good man. He wants to be a living man. He chooses living. They cut left, then right. The map in his head is made of dead ends and near misses. Twice they double back as patrols sweep with the logic of wolves. They stumble into a bar with its lights off and its front door latched from the inside but not bolted. The air is stale with beer and something medicinal. In the gloom, shapes resolve. Tables overturned, glass everywhere. A stack of plastic crates. Annie eases the girls behind the bar and whispers a game. Quiet statues, tiny breaths. Jack finds a back room and a calendar on the wall still turned to last month. As if the place resisted the idea of today. Boots stop outside. Knuckles rap the window. A voice barks in the local language. Curt. Impatient. Jack's fingers find a length of pipe. He's invited to an identity he's never practiced. The door splinters. The first man through has a machete. The second has a flashlight. The bright circle swings across Jack's face, across Annie's, across the cartoon unicorn printed on a small pajama shirt. Something in the men hesitates. Surprise, disgust, curiosity. It doesn't last. The machete lifts. The gunshot comes from behind them. The man with the flashlight arches and crumples. The machete man pivots, and two more shots stitch him to the wall. The doorway fills with Hammond and another man who looks like he belongs behind a bar or at a poker table. Square shoulders, a shirt a size too small, eyes that keep moving. "Time to go," Hammond says. He doesn't ask if anyone's hurt. He looks once at the kids and once at Jack and calculates the pace they can sustain. "They're not after you because of you," he says as they move. "You're a flag, a message. You'll make the news." They cut through a service alley where laundry drips and a stray dog watches with amber eyes. They slide into a car that smells like stale cigarettes and citrus air freshener, and Hammond floors it before the doors fully close. In the car's cramped bubble, the city becomes a blurred ribbon of chaos. Barricades made of burning tires, a half-toppled bronze statue, a van whose windows are painted white from the inside. Hammond drives like a man who's been chased before. The other man, Kenny, reloads calmly, expertly, as if his hands learned the motion in another life. Jack wants a plan. Hammond offers pieces. "The embassy's gone," he says. "They hit it early. They're targeting Westerners, Americans especially. They think your company, your government." He raises an eyebrow. "Stitched them up with a water deal. Privatized, priced, controlled. When the money didn't land where the street expected, the street decided to take a different payment." Jack stares at him. "You knew? You knew something like this could happen?" Hammond's mouth tightens. He doesn't confirm, but he doesn't bother with a lie. "I knew the tinder was dry," he says. "Didn't know which match." Kenny points through the windshield at a side road. Hammond swerves, horn blaring. A lorry slams on its brakes inches from the rear bumper. The girls wake fully now. Their small hands clutch at seat backs and sleeves. Annie keeps her voice level because children don't just mirror your fear, they drink it. "The border," Kenny says. "River. Cross that, you're someone else's problem." It's a bleak kind of hope, but it's hope. They stop once, in a narrow lane behind a shuttered market, to swap cars. Hammond leaves the first one like a snakeskin in the weeds. The second car rides lower, engine rough, but it moves. "You were never just a tourist," Jack says, not a question. Hammond grins without humor. "I'm whatever keeps you alive today." Nothing burns like a city that's decided to cure itself with fire. They pass a pharmacy being emptied into sacks, a phone store with its display phones ripped out by their cords, a school gate chained shut from the inside. A man in a suit walks barefoot, holding his shoes by the laces and talking to no one. Somewhere, an old anthem plays from a truck bed, and the chorus becomes a threat. The checkpoint is 3 men and a billboard frame dragged into the street. Hammond doesn't slow. He threads the car between a food cart and a stack of pallets. A bottle bounces off the hood. A stick glances off the mirror. A bullet takes the rear window and fills the car with glittering dust. The younger daughter's cry is high and breathless. Annie gathers her under her arm and chants her name like a spell. They ditch the second car before it dies on them. From here, it's on foot, through a warren of cinderblock homes stitched together by laundry lines and hope. A woman pulls Jack's sleeve and pushes a scarf into his hand. Cover the light hair, hide the face. He nods gratitude he can't voice and wraps the fabric around his head like a clumsy local. They find a clothesline thick with men's shirts and smear their skin with soot from a cooking brazier. It's camouflage that fools no one up close but maybe buys seconds from across a street. Seconds are a currency now. A patrol barrels around a corner. For men in mismatched uniforms and one in a red bandana who looks like he enjoys this too much. He sees Jack, sees the pale eyes peeking over the scarf, and the grin splits his face. He points. The chase snaps tight like a leash. Hammond shoves a door that isn't locked. Inside, a stairwell the width of a coffin. Up 2 flights. Across a narrow hall. Into a room where the window is a hole and the breeze is the only clean thing. The door buckles almost immediately. There is no back way out. Hammond doesn't swear. He doesn't have time. He takes 3 steps, puts his shoulder to the door, and in the same motion says, "Kenny with me." Jack understands without wanting to. He's not a soldier. He is a father. The job is the same, though. Put your body between your people and the thing that wants them. The door splinters on the 3rd hit. The red bandana man is first through. Hammond takes him with a shot to the leg and then the shoulder. He staggers but doesn't fall. He laughs, a wet, hungry sound, and swings a pipe. Hammond absorbs it on his forearm, winces, moves in close, and ends the laugh with a sharp, merciless answer. 2 more pour through. Kenny handles them with a workman's efficiency. In the room's corner, a child's drawing curls on the wall. Stick figures under a sun. Jack registers it the way drowning men register the color of the sky, as information he cannot use. They don't win the fight so much as survive it long enough to leave. They slam the door again, wedge a broken chair beneath the knob, and run. Down another stair, through a kitchen where pots sit abandoned on warm stoves, out a back door into an alley that smells like fish and ammonia and freedom. Hammond stumbles once. Jack catches him by the elbow. There's blood seeping dark into the British man's shirt. "Later," Hammond says. "Later." Even though he knows there's no later promise to anyone in this city tonight. The river is not majestic. It's brown and slow and choked with weeds. But its far bank is another country. On a map, the line is precise. In person, it's a suggestion enforced by men with guns. On one side, rage. On the other, a different government's patience. They pick their way through brush toward a scruffy mooring where small boats bang softly against a warped plank. Kenny knows the man who tends them. Or maybe he simply knows how to look like a man you don't want to cross. Money changes hands. They slide into a boat low enough to make your stomach tighten with each ripple. Hammond sits last, heavy with hidden weight. Jack rows. He was a swimmer as a kid. He has pulled his weight through water for fun and medals and the clean ache of muscles used well. Now he pulls them toward a shore that doesn't love them but might tolerate them. The oars squeal. The girls are beyond tears, wrapped in Shock's dull cotton. Annie holds them, face to the wind. Halfway across, a shout. 2 boats slide from upriver, the motors too loud in the quiet. A spotlight slices the night and paints Jack and his family in white. Men stand in the bow with rifles slung and machetes loose. They don't hurry. They don't need to. Kenny rises and returns fire, but his angle is bad and his breath is worse. Bullets gutter the water into geysers. The girls shrink into the bottom of the boat, fingers in ears. A round punches the gunwale and the boat takes on a little water, then a little more. Hammond moves with the slow inevitability of a man who rehearsed this moment a long time ago. He shoves Jack's shoulder. "Row," he says, an order and a benediction. He stands and empties his magazine at the closest boat. It veers, then continues. Another shot finds Hammond. He grunts. His body folds, then refuses to fall. He fires again, gives the river something to remember him by, and finally drops to one knee. "Keep going," he says. "Please." Jack does, not because courage fills him, but because there is no other option that includes his daughters seeing tomorrow. Kenny reloads and shouts something that could be a prayer or a curse. Annie whispers to the girls about hot chocolate, about their own beds, about a dog they might get if everyone is very brave. She lies with love and precision. The far bank looms. So does a figure. A soldier in a different uniform holds up a flat hand. Halt. He's not smiling. He is not excited to see them. He is merely professional. Jack's boat scrapes mud and stops. He half drags, half carries the girls onto the bank. Annie follows, slipping, recovering. The pursuing boats cut engines and drift into shallow water, still 50 feet out. The men in them stand, knives glinting. One splashes into the shallows, then stops. The soldier on the bank raises his rifle and speaks a short sentence in a tone you don't mistake. It means, "Another step and you end on this side of the river forever." There is a pause shaped like choice. The men in the boats decide they've sent their message already. They back away, slow, coiled. Jack turns to thank the soldier and finds himself looking at a man doing math. How much trouble is a family worth? How much paperwork? He jerks his head once. "Follow me." Behind them, Kenny stumbles onto the mud, panting, clutching a side wound that blooms through his shirt. He grins and says something about the drink he'll have if someone will just hand him a bottle and a bar stool. He is still himself because that's how men like him hide what they know. They look for Hammond and see only the water smoothing itself where he went under. The border station is a set of rooms with paint peeling and fluorescent lights that buzz in complaint. A nurse with tired eyes cleans a girl's scraped knee and gives the older one something sweet from a metal tin. The soldier who faced down the river disappears without praise. He did his job. Jack sits on a metal chair and feels the weight of everything he didn't see coming. Annie takes his hand. No speeches. They don't need to forgive each other. They need to sleep without dreaming of rooftops. Someone in a different uniform asks questions, names, dates, where did you come from, who fired first. Jack answers mechanically. His mouth forms words. His brain replays images that don't care about grammar. He says Hammond's name aloud, because someone should. With dawn, the sky pretends the city never burned. Mist lifts from the river like breath cooling. In the distance, a truck backfires, and everyone in the small room flinches, their bodies not yet convinced that the rules have changed again. There is no grand reunion at an American base. There is no speech from a senator. There is paperwork and a waiting area and a lukewarm drink in a paper cup that tastes like survival. Jack holds his daughters, one on each side, heavy with sleep. Annie leans her head on his shoulder and lets the weight of it press into bone. They don't talk about going back. They don't talk about what they'll tell people who weren't there and will never understand. Somewhere, in a room with a table you can wipe down, men redivide blame. The company will rebrand the project. The country will call yesterday an aberration and tomorrow a step forward. The news cycle will roll on. But in one house, wherever the Dwyers build it, there will be a box in the closet that smells faintly of river water and gunpowder, and the word rooftop will never mean the same thing again. No Escape is a thriller about a family on the run. But under that engine is a quieter machine. A reckoning with how distant deals shape real streets. Jack arrives believing he's bringing water. The city teaches him that people who can't drink will drink blood. Hammond arrives looking like a barfly. He leaves a ledger, paid in full, with interest nobody asked him to cover. The daughters arrive as tourists. They leave as witnesses to a truth kids shouldn't know. Sometimes the adults can't fix it, only carry you through it. And the river, muddy, unglamorous, indifferent, becomes a border not just between nations but between the person you were and the person who now understands that survival is not righteousness. It's simply what you do so the people you love get to keep asking questions tomorrow. That's the story. A family leaves home to build a future. The ground moves. The city decides. And for a long night with no rescue in sight, for people learn the hardest geometry of all. Distance, timing, the weight you can throw, the line you must cross, and the price you pay for the privilege of seeing another sunrise. And that's how a business trip turned into a war zone, and why the one choice at the river changes everything. If this breakdown gave you a new way to see no escape, do 3 things for me. Drop your what would you do moment in the comments, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next deep dive, and tap the video on screen. I'm unpacking another survival thriller where one tiny decision decides who makes it home. I'll meet you there.